Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Mummy Returns, starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, John Hannah, Arnold Vosloo, Oded Fehr, Patricia Velasquez, introducing Freddie Boeth, and The Rock as the Scorpion King, directed by Stephen Sommers. Now, I remember going to movie theaters for this one, being all thrilled with the effects and all that, but will it be the same when I watch this for this viewing? Well, let's find out, shall we? We open with a battle 5,000 years ago with the Scorpion King, played by, at the time, The Rock. In his early years before an acting career, and who lost the war, and his men died, as he's the remaining survivor, and is willing to give his soul to the gods, and his army invade, and gives his soul to the gods, and that as an opening scene was, I guess, pretty good. But it's not gonna be the way how I feel about the rest of the movie, but we'll see. In Egypt, 1933, Rick O'Connell, returned by Brendan Fraser, and his wife Evie, returned by Rachel Weisz, with son Alex, played by Freddie Boeth, who's horrible in this movie, by the way, search for something in Egypt, and a couple of robbers come inside the same place as the O'Connells, and Evie, and yes, they're married, both Rick and Evie, will have dreams / visions, Evie does, from her past in ancient Egyptian times, which will be told as the movie progresses. Meanwhile, Alex disturbs the three robbers, and Rick and Evie find the Scorpion King's bracelet, and the three robbers escape, and the O'Connells get drenched in water, and Rick and Evie getting out of trouble thanks to Alex, not successfully, stopping the wall from breaking. In Hamunaptra, the three robbers come back and works for Anaxunamun, returned by Patricia Velasquez, who finds Imhotep's body, and they go and get to London to the O'Connells to get the bracelet in order to resurrect Imhotep, returned by Arnold Vosloo. And these scenes have problems because Alex puts on the bracelet, and I kind of like going back to the O'Connells versus Imhotep, with a little help from Ardeth Bay, returned by Oded Fehr, and Evie's brother Jonathan, returned by John Hannah, who almost gets killed by a Anaxunamun snake, and they get attacked as they first take Evie to the resurrection of Imhotep, and they have a shootout. And I like the effects of the mummy this time, much better than last week, I'll say. But the action sequence just felt the same as the first film. And by the first, I'm talking about the one with Brendan Fraser, which kind of got boring after a while. And as soon as the bad guys find out Alex has the bracelet, they kidnap him. And my problem is they're stuck with him for the entire movie for a bunch of bad comedy. While on the train with the bad guys, Alex acts like a smartass to them, and this is not Def Comedy Jam. And when Alex says to Imhotep, "My dad is going to kick your ass," and Imhotep shows him his face, and his face is freaked, and by his, I'm talking about Alex's face, and who's laughing now? I am, because it's stupid. Imhotep kills the three robbers, and I could care less. Meanwhile, Rick, Evie, Ardeth, and Jonathan gets a balloon to find Alex from his friend Izzy, who honestly is not as good of a comic relief as Jonathan. And do we need to? I mean, honestly, it's leading up to a bad movie. I'm going to be honest, I'm trying to like this movie whether I recommend it or not, but there's problems with the script. For example, Alex unsuccessfully escapes, which is just, what a stupid thing for the script for this kid to do. I'm sorry, it's just all bad. Evie remembers her past life in ancient Egypt as she fights Anaxunamun, as her name was let me see if I can pronounce this right. Nefertiri? Something like that? And when they fight, it felt very choreographed. And she remembers what happened to her in ancient Egypt and what Anaxunamun did to her father in the past, and that was so predictably unconvincing in this movie more than the first. I can't believe I'm not liking this, but trust me, next week will be the worst. And I'll talk about it then. Alex leaves clues to help our heroes find him, which was kind of smart, but again, it's not convincing. Meanwhile, Imhotep does the same trick he did in the last time, where his face was on sand, and attacks our heroes, but this time, he uses water, which looked very freaking cheap. The bad guys with our heroes fight some skeletons that looks like little people, and these effects look so bad. I can't believe it. Rick saves Alex and gets him far away from the bad guys as possible, and reunites with Evie, Jonathan, and Ardeth, but gets chased by the little spider monkeys. And to be fair, I'm talking about those bony guys that I said look bad. And Rick destroys the bridge, and it becomes daytime and saves Alex's life and takes it off, which, yay, no more Alex as a MacGuffin in my mind. Let's keep going. Anaxunamun stabs Evie, and Evie dies briefly, which I thought that was the ending, right? But no, they've got to kill Imhotep and get more screen time for The Rock. So let's keep going. Rick goes after Imhotep after Imhotep's powers has been taken, and while he calls out the Scorpion King in Ardeth's war against the tall Egyptian monsters that they brought up in the opening scene, which looks kind of bad, I'll say. Rick and Imhotep fight while Jonathan fights Anaxunamun until Jonathan gets a punch and Alex resurrects Evie, and she fights Anaxunamun, Evie does, and the Scorpion King comes out during the Rick versus Imhotep fight, and Imhotep makes the Scorpion King fight Rick, and Ardeth wins the battle, but more has yet to come. Meanwhile, Rick realizes a spear of Osiris can kill the Scorpion King and kills him with it, and Evie saves Rick as Anaxunamun leaves Imhotep, and both Imhotep and Anaxunamun die in the underworld, and our heroes get out of the pyramid and get back on the balloon, and this climax is very problematic. The effects look so bad in this movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. What a downer of a movie, but next week is a lot worse, believe me. The performances, are very weak, with a messy script, and the effects look so bad I can't believe it. This is a big step down from last week up to a movie that I've grown not to like as much as I used to. What a big disappointment. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. And until next week, let's catch the mummy.